Mayor Barkley.
Realizes that grass is here. Might want to just send him a text.
Yes. Did you want to say something, Councillor Heisting?
Yeah, I'm not too sure if Cindy can be, if she can hear.
Yeah, she can.
Okay, all right. Sorry, I was just looking out for her.
Okay, well, we will bring this third day of budget meeting to order, and just want to thank everybody for the great discussion over the last couple of days of this, and of course thanks to Director Vickers and all the senior leadership team for all the work you've put into delivering the budget to us. So we will get on to day 3.
Okay, thank you, Mayor Barkley. So first, I'd just like to go over the items that I amended since Friday. So the first item, we did add 3 items to the budget. One was money for the future art policy in the amount of $10,000. We added back in DocuSign for $5,000 and bumped up the events budget up to $55,000, so that was an increase of $15,000. And we also removed the Citizens Perspective Survey. We're going to bump that to a future year. We removed Council COLA. We removed the new section of sidewalks that was in the roads budget for $50,000, as well as we adjusted the infill to actually be funded from this year's unused infill projects. And you'll see that again when I bring the surplus. You'll actually see an allocation to a reserve for this infill as part of the surplus allocation. And we also did rearrange some salaries to kind of fit in, better align with their job duties just for next year, as there is an increase in land sales, so that's taking more of our staff's time and effort. So based on those changes, we did print out a new 5-year operating budget summary with the new deficit of $64,370. So that's where we were sitting at the end of Friday. So on Friday, you guys had asked to see a little bit more detailed mill rate comparison for some central Alberta municipalities. So we do have that for Innisfil, Olds, Red Deer County, Penhold, Black Falls, Sylvan Lake, and Bowden. So I do have the last 5 years of mill rates for them. There is some questions. We did try to reach out to Black Falls just to verify that decrease, and we were unable to reach them yet, either late yesterday or early this morning. But so yeah, we can go through them if you'd like. So the first set is residential. So you can see that Penhold did go down from 2021 on purpose as well. But however, they do have a minimum tax rate of $500, which we don't have, which is quite considerable. So they likely will get a lot of extra dollars in that minimum tax rate to offset that. Bowden also did a fairly significant decrease this year, and that is due to their increased non-residential activity that's creating a bit more tax revenue for them, so they didn't have to have residential as high.
Director Vickers, can I ask on Penhold, like the minimum tax rate?
Yes.
Like where would that apply?
So we have stalls, like parking stalls that are single titled, that have a very small value. The taxes are maybe in around the $75, no more than $100 kind of thing, right? So that would become a $500 minimum tax. Or for example, our trailer court, there could be some that are considerably less because they don't pay for land, they're only paying for taxes on the trailer. So that would all fall under that minimum tax rate, so. Okay, so you can see that while Innisfil may not be the lowest, Red Deer County is considerably low, but their non-residential is quite a bit higher than ours as well, so they do offset their revenue by Gasoline Alley, and they do have a lot of industrial with the Joffrey plants and all that kind of stuff, so. Okay, is there anything you want to have any questions about this, or is there any?
I'm just gonna mention, you said about having difficulty getting information from Blackfalds. They're in the Advocate today as to their future increase for next year is 4.76%, following 2020 of 0 and 2021 of 0.6. So they at least have that, so I assume they have everything else behind it that
Yeah,
should be
absolutely.
reachable.
Did you want to add a column to see where their increases are going to go for this year, to see where we could be? Is that something you'd like to see? Okay.
There's two more in this article. City of Red Deer, 4.79 proposed, and 4.38 for 2024. City of Lacombe, 5%.
Yeah, they want to do 5% every year for the next 4 years. Isn't that what it said in there, I believe?
It isn't that specific here. Panoka, 4%. Town of Old's looking at an increase of 3 to 5, which I think you had last week, or, yeah. And then they go to Banff and Canmore, yeah, which you don't want to hear. Oh, they're only 12 and 10. I'm sorry. Banff is 10.26 and Canmore considering a 12.5.
Councillor Maceros? Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can, Kara, thank
Oh,
you.
okay, perfect, thank you.
Kara, did you maybe want to close that and reopen it and see if, because I'm just typing in it and I don't see the changes there.
Councillor Heistad, you have your hand up?
Yeah, what I was gonna ask is if there's any documents, that we may have today, if we can put them on the screen if need be. And then, if we want to, ask any other questions, I'm just waiting it out, for Erica's presentation. And then I do want to make a couple comments about some of the expenditures we were looking at the last couple days. But yeah, it may be easier for us to online to see those documents whenever we need to discuss them. Thanks.
Okay, Kara, I'll put that document in the council folder so you can put it up there if you'd like. Oh, okay, sure. Okay, so I did add in the proposed increases for all of the municipalities and what their mill rate is. I don't have some of them just off the top of my head, but I do have some of the mill rates. So Innisfell's mill rate, based on a 4% increase, will go up to 7.0106. Now Old's had done a 3 to 5%, that's what they were projecting, so I just did a 4 in the middle, so that would bring them up to 6.3026. Penhold is also doing a 4, that will take them up to 8.7630, and Black Falls up to 86787. And then for the non-residential, 4% takes Innisfil up to 8.6504, while Olds goes to 8.6227, and Penhold and Black Falls are both well over 10, with Penhold being 12.8442 and Black Falls being 11.2853.
Okay, thank you. So obviously we're extremely competitive where the non-residential is excellent. So thank you for that.
So I guess, where would you guys like to talk about now? Do you want to talk about the 4% tax increase? Is that still
Sure, we
their
can go.
comfort level for
We
everyone?
can go
or-
around and see
Sure.
what everybody thinks. So Councillor Dunham, oh, sorry. Do you want, how about Councillor Bates? No, are you okay? Okay, sorry.
It's all right. Further, the previous 2 days, I'm still comfortable with that increase and for us to look outside of what our increase is, you know, like I had mentioned at the end of Friday, or whatever day it was, sorry. Yeah, I don't want to see us increase it or decrease it. I'm very comfortable where it is. I'd rather look at us working and massaging the rest of it personally.
Councillor Harrison?
Thank you, Mayor Barkley. Excuse me, yes, I'm comfortable with the 4% and finding the 64,000 deficit that, from within, I think there's enough slush in there that we can probably find that fairly easily. So 4% and we'll find from within the 64,000.
Okay, Councillor Wing?
Excuse me, thank you, Mayor Barkley. To be honest with you, I feel like I'm in a deficit. This whole process relative to being online for 2 days was extremely challenging, and I honestly feel like there's so much innuendo even, but even just the nuance of being able to see people's face, see people's body language, like I honestly, I still have questions, so I'm not prepared to say right now that I still support, that I do support 4%. But hopefully over the course of the coming few hours, you can help me get to a comfort level with that increase. Thanks.
And Councillor Heistad?
Yeah, I'm similar to Janice, where I want to kind of have these conversations the next couple hours. I do see when I was asking questions about you know, or the one item on the box for $100,000 on the truck, is that necessary? Yesterday we had a presentation from both schools about a playground or a gym apparatus for kids. And I know that we earmarked some money for another park in town, and maybe there's an opportunity to shelf the plans for the one park that we were looking at, and maybe there's a collaboration where we're not you know, putting up a structure in an area where it may not be utilized effectively, and that's where I'm at right now. So thank you.
Councillor Maceros?
Hi. From my point of view, the last couple of days going over the budget, to me it seems like we've shaved off where we could shave off. I feel like we've gone through it, and I personally would be in favor of of increasing taxes by 0.5% and by reducing COLA by 0.5%.
Okay, Councillor Bates?
I was just trying, I'm not sure I understood what Councillor Maceros just said, so did you say you were in favor of increasing to 4.5 and then shaving COLA to 3.5?
Yeah, looking at something like that as opposed to trying to figure out $1,000 here and $1,000 there for, to reduce our budget.
Okay. Well, thanks. I just wanted to understand that. So I look at the whole budget. It's not bare bones. And I'm not saying we should go bare bones. I think it's nice to be able to keep going forward. I think COLA is generous, but I'm okay with that if that's what it takes to keep the progress. Last Friday we were talking about taking some of the excess out of reserves. I'm not okay with that. I believe the reserves are all set up to actually fund something that we know we're going to have to spend in the future. So I don't like borrowing from that future. And I do believe that, kind of as Councillor Harrison just said, that we could probably find that. And when I look at some other municipalities, including Red Deer, I've heard in the past as we watch the press, you know, they'll go back and direct administration, go find that other $60,000 or whatever. You know, we're not satisfied. And I'm not saying I'm not. I think we can fix that. We can work it out here in the next couple hours. But I don't want to see it come from reserves for the reasons I've said. It's not a bank account that we can just borrow from. Yeah, I think I've said what I feel. I think we can do it. If we can't find that 60-odd thousand, then I think we should add it to the tax increase. It'll become 4 point whatever. It'll be a small decimal. But we'll find some of the 60. And I would suggest if we're looking for where to find that 60, it's like counting paper clips, as Councillor Hystad said at some point. We look at the budget items from last year that weren't quite spent. That's where we start. Thank you.
Director Vickers, did you find out about the franchise fee?
Yes, so we currently are sitting at 15%. I have reached out to Kayla to look into why that request was not completed.
Okay.
She has not gotten back to me. She was actually out of the office yesterday, so
Okay.
we'll wait and see. However, the amount in the budget is the 17%. So that doesn't affect the numbers in
yeah.
here.
No, just curious what happened there. So I'm good with 4%. I think that's lots in many ways. I know it's necessary without question. I think we can find 60 to shave off someplace. Same with Councillor Bates. I'm not really comfortable taking from reserves. You know, one of my concerns is I realize wastewater is not supported by tax revenues, but I look at those reserves going forward, and that's a concern for me. So we still don't know. I mean, we've been in such an extreme inflationary environment. We don't know where that's going over the next 6 months to a year. So I think we should just try to work hard and find the 60. And not that you haven't worked hard, you have. But you know, maybe you have some ideas for us, Director Vickers, of where that could come from. But
We'll go through. Okay. Did anyone have any other questions?
I do, and it's around reserves. We spoke on Friday about our operating reserve of 300,000, a little bit. And I have a question for the mayor and Councillor Bates. That the whole idea behind that reserve was to supplement what we're talking about today. At least that's my understanding. It was set up to take the shock out of some of these bumps here. So, you know, I'm not, and I've said all along that I'm not big on taking any money out of reserves, but if this reserve isn't set up for that, then why do we have it? That would be my comment. The rest of the reserves, it looks like they're dedicated. But this one here, I understood it was set up so that you could access that in times of need. Am I wrong?
So my understanding, because you directed that question to me, my understanding is, and I've seen it for 9 years now. There's something out there that we haven't even thought of that's gonna pop up in the next 6 months or a year that we're gonna need to tap into that reserve. It's the unexpected thing. It shouldn't be used for budget. That's my understanding.
Well, I guess it boils down to either, if we can't find the 60,000 from within the budget, where's it gonna come from? Nobody seems to really want more of a tax increase, myself included.
I don't think that's what we're here for. We'll see if there's somewhere else that we can find
Okay, well,
some of that 64. And then if it becomes 4 point something, it becomes 4 point something. We also have heard a couple of councillors say that, you know, there could be an adjustment to COLA or something else, or let's have the discussion. Let's not go to the end point before we have the discussion.
I'm just trying to get clarification on what happened on Friday there, that when we talked about it. So it is a reserve that is set up for these unexpected things into the future that we may need to spend something on. So, just so that I'm clear on the operating reserve,
Yeah, so, Mayor Barkley and Council, so an operating reserve traditionally is used for unexpected operating expenses or to help stabilize your tax increases from year to year. But that reserve, we don't have anything identified in writing what that is for, so council can dictate what they want to use that money for.
okay, thank you.
If we did want to pull out of that reserve to offset this, it would be our recommendation that we then re-put that money back in from the year-end surplus if there is any left, right? To kind of bring that back up to where we were sitting at now.
Okay, well, let's get on with it.
Okay, so is there anywhere that anyone has any thoughts of where they'd like to start first? Would you like to look at the COLA and see what that would look like if we take 0.5% off? Director Jenkins also did just bring up that we could remove the $10,000 transfer to reserve to the PACE, for the PACE van, because we are going to be selling the bus. That will be quite a large investment into that reserve. That could save $10,000. That would give us only $54,000 left to find.
Mayor Barkley through to SLT team. I think that's a good place to start, and you know, I just want to pedal back here a bit to when I first spoke about what the term or what the word comfortable is for me. Is I don't think any of us are comfortable with having to raise taxes. I don't think any council in any of our districts or anywhere is ever really comfortable with having to do a tax increase. But when you look at what's happened with MSI funding, with inflation, with what we're trying to do, I think it's just in a position of what we feel is best for the community. So I just wanted to kind of pedal back a little bit on that, and I don't think any of us are comfortable with having to do that, and that's why for me, kind of where I stand now and from last week, that 4% was a number that in my head, seeing what the other municipalities were having to do, that was where I landed. Once again, I would way rather do what we're doing now, like exploring, you know, pulling that $10,000 out and trying to trim some of the other things. One thing I do though feel strongly about is our equipment, you know, with the box on the truck, is that if we don't do it this year, then what is the increase going to be cost next year or the year after that? Like, we have had a history, it seems, where we delay certain things and then it ends up costing us more. So that's just my 2 bits.
And Director Vickers, I know I'm going to throw this out there, but I'd be interested in a 1% franchise fee increase on Fortis, and I say that because I think, you know, that franchise fee is based on transmission and distribution charges. So if I think that's, I don't know, $60 in a month or $50, you know, that's so minimal to the taxpayer.
Right.
You know, 1% of $50 is not very much, 50 cents, right? So,
And 1% would see us, how much would that see? $97,000.
Yeah.
1% would see.
yeah. Can we like do 0.5 point or 3/4, or is it always 1% in?
Let me look.
increments. And I would also add on to that, I think with Fortis, we also have our provincial government helping in that respect with payouts for utility bills. So it may be a good time when people aren't going to feel that as much as they typically would. So we might see a 50-cent increase on a bill, or 60 cents. That's in, but people are getting rebates on their power bills.
Yeah, right now I believe it's a $50
50,
rebate
yeah.
for a number of months, and I believe there may be some extension of that program. I'm
Well,
not sure.
I think it was announced the other day, they're going for the first 6 months in 2023. And I don't know if it was staying at the same, or is it 50 a month? Yeah, I think it's still 50 a month. Yeah.
So Mayor Barkley, I did just look up just Fortis's franchise fee rider
Yeah.
listing. And while most are at a flat number, there is a handful that are at a 0.5%, 0.4, 0.25, so it does appear that we can do, we could do a 0.5%.
I know in the summertime, like my power bill was $17, $20 because of the $50 rebate.
Right.
So I don't think 1% is going to be a big deal. And we're also going to capture those properties that are not paying property taxes, like the
That's
schools,
right.
like the hospital, like on and on. So
There's over about 400 units that may not pay their own taxes because
Yes.
they're part of like a larger
Yeah.
building, right? Either apartment buildings or
Yeah.
things like that.
And I think I would even go 1% just because of the rebates that are coming in from the province.
Okay, so that 1% would cover anything. We could still look
Yeah.
to tighten up a bit more and have a bit more of a surplus at that point. But
Councillor Heistad?
Yeah, no, I know that there's ongoing discussion, on where we can shave 60 grand. My question to CEO and Mayor Barkley is, do we have to pass this today, or is this, when is it, like, I know that we're deliberating, but normally, we look at this, pass it, and then we don't enact it for some time, and I'm just wondering, we can bounce all these details around and then have further discussion at another meeting, or what's the direction from the CEO and council? Is it to hammer this out today?
Well, we try to find where we should be, and then it'll come back
Yeah.
December 12th, correct, Director Vickers?
That's
For
correct, Mayor
council approval.
that's correct.
So, and we're talking openly about COLA as well. There was one piece in here that I can't recall us talking about affordable housing, and we've been talking about that for the last year. And so, where are we gonna go with that? Study it? I understood that, and I was just reflecting the last 2 days, is how do we tackle that as well in some of the work that we do? In the next 3 years, but also, $60,000, I believe we're gonna get there. As to COLA, Councilor Massaro said 0.5%. I was good with shaving that 1%, and because we are a good employer and we do good things, and I do believe that there is citizens out there that are not getting COLA, and we are a fair employer in what we do. As to the box, I'm going to be upfront. I never got really an answer if we need it this year at all, 2 years down the road. And the playground thing, I think that we can collaborate with the schools, but I think we'll land today.
Okay, I think
Those are my,
good points. I think right now we're talking budget, so like the playground or box and stuff, that's capital. But,
yeah, that's capital, but I'm okay with the 1%, COLA decreasing at 1%. That's the 60. And I understood that we were talking about the franchise fees to keep those as flat as we can. And as to the government, we don't know how long those rebates are gonna go on. And we're 800,000 out with the MSI grant funding, which, goes back to our messaging and how we inform the public that we're trying to balance it as well as we can. And I'm okay with the tax increase. It's just that, you know, where we land, and those are my comments for now. And messaging that the MSI grant, that's the big thing. I think that's one of the things that is coming up over and over again, but it's put on us as a municipality. Thanks.
CEO Becker, did you want to respond?
I'm not sure how to respond. Councillor Hysted's points, there's a lot in there. I think he covered the overview of the budget over the last 2 days. I was going to focus in on the statement of housing. I know there's actions already associated. I don't see a budget increase requirement. Administration didn't pose an increase on budget. I think the MDP development and the leading into the housing discussion paper update, moving into any planning of other subdivisions probably would cover your 2023 housing focus, but it's up to you to dictate if you want it to more fine tune the box. And questions like capital is coming up, but just pose a question. There's only points referenced, not specific questions. Administration would be happy to answer any specific questions to the budget and to capital. Yeah, I don't sure how else I can respond, but I'm certainly here to advise.
Yeah, for sure.
Thanks.
Okay, so I'm just going to go, personally, I would like to see a 1% franchise fee for the reasons I have mentioned, that we're capturing other properties that are not paying property taxes. I'm not in favor of reducing COLA. And the reason I say that is I know where we've been the last 4 years, and we haven't kept up to the cost of living for our employees. And this year we're looking at basically a 7% inflation headline, and even at 4%, we're not keeping up to that. So I think we're in an extremely tight labor market, and you know, I just feel it's the right thing to do and look after our people, which have done such a great job. So that's where I'm sitting, so we can go around and determine where everybody wants to go, and I don't know. Councillor Wing.
No, it's fine. So from a couple of comments just relative to the operating budget, because I would like to talk capital in a little bit too. I wanted to just build on something that Councillor Hysted mentioned, and that's relative to communications planning, but also input from the community, I guess. When I was, I think this was like Thursday or Friday when I was online, I was looking at a news release from Black Falls, who was talking about the increase, and we've talked about that proposed increase earlier. All the reasons in the world of the things that they were going to do with the taxes they were increasing, and not one word about the cuts in MSI. And from my perspective, MSI has to be a critical part of our communications plan. I'd like to see a communications plan around the budget and how we roll it out to our community. But the MSI funding is an opportunity for us to advocate for our community. It's not about taking shots at the government. It's not about being political necessarily. But if we can increase taxes based primarily on, on the fact that we've got that huge cut in funding from the government, I think that's a rationale as far as why we're increasing taxes. So I know that we don't have a history of doing some kind of a public consultation or offering an opportunity for public input from our community relative to budget, but I would really like to consider that. It's too late now, but as we move forward, that community input process, from my perspective, is really important. I wonder about, I'm not sure how I feel about the franchise fee increase. I understand the purpose of franchise fees. I support the fact that we can collect them. But have we actually, further to what happened to us last year, have we actually considered the impact of our not-for-profits applying for property tax exemptions in this budget? We had a number in front of us last year that said, gee, if everybody finds out that they can apply for a property tax exemption, that's going to have a significant impact on us, and I don't know that we've talked about that in this budget yet. Yeah, I think for right now, that's where I'll leave it.
Councillor Bates.
So I want to understand where we sit with the franchise fee, the Fortis.
So right now, we're sitting with them at only 15%.
So they're charging 15. We've gone a year thinking we were charging 17.
That's correct.
So are we talking going from 15 to 16 with the mayor's proposal?
No,
Or we're talking about going from 15 to 18?
correct, because our budget number in here is 17.
So the citizens are already going to see a 2%, a 2 point. It's not 2%. It's like, you do the math. It's a
Right.
huge percentage against what they were paying. It's 2 points on 15. They're going to see that. And so I'm against further raising it. I guess we've already approved it at 17 a year ago. So it goes there, and the budget is based on that. I'm against further raising it because they are going to see that elevated, and it is a tax, whether we like to think it or not. It's purely a tax. And we don't know, Councillor Hysted mentioned it, we don't know how long we're going to get subsidized. I see the price of Western Canadian oil on its way down, so maybe the roller coaster is heading for another move. And I think if we moved ours to 18, we do pass some of our neighboring communities. We talk about, again, when I think of our theme of the power of place, I think of power as being electricity and cost, and I don't think we want to go there at this point. So those are all the reasons that I'm against raising a franchise fee beyond the 17 that we haven't already charged people. So, yeah, and it seems like the question was asked, what do we want to do with COLA, and then we went everywhere. I'm okay with COLA at 4. I'm okay with COLA at 3.5. I think it's relative to other people. It's in a good place at either one of those levels. It's not being overly frugal. Thank you.
Councillor Hysted?
Yeah, and I just want to be clear on where my direction with COLA is in the 1%. And in the previous meetings, I talked about agreements, and I used town of Pinoca, for example, and I believe that Director Vickers gave us examples from other communities. And the reason I was going to the 3%, and my rationale is, especially being coming from the labor side and unions, is creating that balance, not only for our staff, but citizens that pay our taxes, that pay us, is that reasonable percentage that we're going to look after our staff, which I do believe that we're a good employer. We do have decent benefits, but we do have citizens that work in the not-for-profit sector, private sector, that have not seen increases in well over a year or 2 or 3 years. And so that's where I'm coming from on the messaging. And that's why, if we're going to talk COLA, I'm just going to be straight out from where I'm coming from. And it's, truthfully, I understood that was at 60,000. So, thanks.
I'm sorry, I can't find my hand icon anywhere. Is it okay if I say something again?
Yes, go ahead.
Director Vickers, sorry, I copied Jason. Director Vickers had, she brought up a point a few minutes ago about a $10,000 reduction that she found. Maybe we could start with that, and just kind of, because that's brought it down to $54,000 now, if that's what we agree to. Maybe we could start by talking about where we can reduce. It seems like there's a lot of dialogue going around about, different opinions about how to increase our revenue, but we haven't actually tried to go through the operating budget again. And I think a $10,000 deduction is a pretty good start. So my suggestion would be that we try and go through that.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Harrison.
Thank you, Mayor Barkley. I have a question through to Director Vickers. What are the numbers at a COLA reduction to 3.5% and 3%, 0.5% and 1%? What would be the savings?
Let me just calculate that out. So every percent of COLA costs us around $62,000, so it's $61,750.
61,750, and that's a 1% reduction?
That's a 1%. So if we cut that down to half, we'd be saving about $30,000.
$30,000, and we're looking at the 10 with
So
the.
it would have been
bu-
54 minus, like, because I've already
54.
taken out the 10,
So
yeah.
if we go 0.5% on the COLA
Yeah, it's about 24,000 left to find.
at 0.5%,
That's a
1%,
0.5%.
we would have that.
If we take the full 1%, go down to 3, that would cover the whole thing.
Okay. Because I did hear last week that the employees, our employees would be okay with 3, or am I reading something into it that, I guess we're never,
Mayor Barkley, Councillor Harrison, we don't survey the staff on what they like for COLA. We leave that to council. What the expectation we relate to back to the employees is that council, and you can change it, but the target is 50% percentile based on market, on communities, municipalities, same kind of gig we have here. And we'll confirm where we're at in 2023. I feel 4% would maintain around that 50%. I referenced in a different meeting that the culture of the organization is strong, and we'll try to maintain that strength of the culture, whatever you provide for COLA.
okay. That's where I was going. Thank you.
Okay, so where would, sorry.
So I guess the question I have is back to Councillor Maceros' question. Like, so we kind of found 10. Now we know what a 0.5% COLA is, which I hadn't written that down before, but we know. Should we kind of go through and see if we can find more 10s? Or 5s? Just a question.
Yeah, I would like to do that. I'm not going to keep hammering on COLA, but anything that's under the cost of living is a pay cut. And, so often we ourselves talk about how frustrating it is, funding that we're getting, it's flatlining or it's not going up at the rate of inflation. And so for us, that's a cut. So I would like to see if we could find, and I know 4% sounds huge, but, I keep going back to the headline rate. And so let's see what we can dig into and find something. And if we can't, we can't. Do you have any ideas, Director Vickers, of?
Okay, Mayor Barkley, well, the first items could be that we could cut the items that we did add. So like the DocuSign, we could cut that. That would be $5,000. We could cut the art policy numbers, and if something does come up throughout the year, we can bring those to you on a one-off basis and potentially pull from reserves at that point in time if something does come up, as well as maybe the events thing. We could do the same thing, pare that back down to 40, and then see if anything does come up through the year that requires some extra investment, then we would come to you to look for funding at that time. That would find $30,000 for that amount.
The events, I know we had quite a discussion about that the other day. We bumped it from to 55, but we spent
That's
around
correct.
40 this year.
That's correct.
So I guess maybe this is a question more for Director Jenkins. I know the community loves events and it's so good for our culture. Would 45-ish maybe be appropriate based
I
on
guess
what we
it's
foresee?
a challenging question. Whatever we get, we're gonna work with and, you know, look at the events that we have on the calendar and prioritize, you know, where the dollars get spent. So yeah, and I'm not really able to give a tangible, okay, well, we won't have this specific thing, but, yeah, we should be able to be on par with what we did this year, at that 40 level. But again, yeah, we didn't do a community awards ceremony. We didn't do some of those other events, so.
Just to add in, Mayor Barkley, we had a quick chat after last budget meeting, and not to change any wording Director Jenkins is stating, but raising that budget, so we have the capacity to do similar what we had this year for that 40,000. So in a brief conversation is how do we allocate your budget? If it's 55, that would be probably potentially a grant to support community, although it does have an impact on us, as you stated, Mayor Barkley, that every event, we have a play in it, on it, but how do we expend that budget? Because we're at full capacity on the events as we currently are.
No, good comment. Councillor Heistad, you have your hand up.
Yeah, what I was going to propose is that we don't have to pass this until the 12th. My recommendation would be that we have our administration go back, look at the numbers, and I'm not too sure if our CEO has had conversations with our HR consultant on numbers of COLA and looking at the details that we may want to consider with the COLA. But that's where I'm going right now is like your operation, 50% of your operating budget is staffing, right? So if you're gonna, the easiest place to make modifications would be in that staffing area, because it's labor is your highest cost. But getting down that, you know, like if we reduce 0.5 or 1%, you know you're gonna get the 60% there. But my curiosity is what our HR consultant has discussed with Todd, or if any discussion has been had with what her recommendation would be to us as a community. And we can make that final decision come the 12th of December, because I really don't see us landing right now through these discussions that we're having. So thanks.
Mayor Barkley, Councillor Heistad, yes, our HR oversight is Director Vickers. She's presented that information to you. As for the COLA comparison, that is the data through an HR perspective. I bet you if you wanted administration to come back to you with some ideas, give us a half an hour, or we can step aside, have a dialogue, and we could probably hammer this through. So it really depends on where you want to go. Do you want to maintain council's proposed projects? Yes, no? Or is there room in there to modify? Yes, no? If it's a no, we need to maintain these operational pieces in, administration go back. I'm sure we can exit. You guys can have a break, and I bet you we can get towards close to that after that break. We also have A&P on Monday. We can certainly have budget deliberation at your A&P meeting on Monday. So it was still early in this morning. We can certainly figure this out, in my opinion. Councillor Heistad.
Okay, I'll go from there. Thanks.
Councillor Bates.
So the reason we're here is to go through these things and have these discussions, and I think the CAO has given us a good suggestion. I think we should take that break, let them look at some of these things, because we know we're stretching their capacity with some, you know, so it's real easy to say we don't want to drop that, we don't want to drop that. Let's take that break. Let's let them talk a little bit. And where we've increased, like even, and again, I don't want to single in on a specific thing, but I think they told us they were okay to drop DocuSign, and then one of us said, no, you shouldn't do that. Let's let them tell us what they need to do their job, and see how much of that could come back. And yeah, as COLA, you know, I don't want to trim COLA if I don't have to. You're never going to keep up to inflation. You could put COLA in at 10 right now, and it's not going to keep up with inflation after people are taxed. So, you know, let's take the advantage of that offer, and meanwhile, on our break, we can look at our own stuff and see if we come up with a suggestion. That's where I'd like to see us go.
Okay, thank you. So where are we at right now, Director Vickers?
So that depends, I
That
guess.
depends, yeah.
We started out with 64,000. We can remove the $10,000 for the handy van transfer to reserve, just due to the fact that we're gonna sell the bus this year, and it will see a fairly large injection into that reserve already. Director Jenkins just told me that we can do the same thing to the facade program that we did with the infill, as we haven't
Okay.
spent it yet this year, so that's another $10,000 off.
Okay,
We can look at the 0.5% of COLA, that would be another $30,000, or we can look elsewhere. Potentially some of those items that we pulled off, but at least we have $10,000 that we can pull off. So that's now only like 45,000 that we
and
can
take
find.
10 out of events, like the, you know,
Yep, we can
CEO
take-
Becker was just saying that you don't really have the capacity to do more, so,
Yeah,
or 15, whatever you think suits the organization, I'll leave that to you. So that's 35,
35, yeah,
and DocuSign would be 40 if that's taken out.
yeah.
Just in DocuSign, Mayor Barkley, I know council would like to have it back in. It is an administrative function. We are starting to move into it, but we have to buy so many DocuSign to really get value. And I think 2023 will continue, but we're not going to be all in DocuSign. I think we can get away, from my perspective, to use it more in 2024. We are ramping up there, but it's not a full in for us in 2023.
Okay, so there's 40.
Okay. What about the art policy? 10,000.
Yeah, when do you think that, I mean, if that policy comes back, I think you're right. If the policy comes back, we get the policy approved, and if somebody or group comes forward and wants to do something, we can pull it out of operating at that time, and or look for grants. I'm thinking there's quite a few grants available for that kind of work. And
Correct, even if the art policy comes in, let's say in the first quarter, first
Yeah.
half of the new year, after some discussion and get it all ironed out, and someone does come and make an application, we would just likely bring that to council directly to either look for funding or anything like that.
so there's 50.
I would think we have a fair bit of legwork to do on the
Okay.
art in terms of setting up
Sure.
who and what and
Committee and whatever,
Right,
however it
is,
works.
what is that gonna look like throughout the community, that we don't just start, throwing up art wherever, that there's a bit of a vision around it, so that's, will probably take longer than we anticipate.
Okay,
Okay, so that does bring us up to 50, so now we really only have to find $15,000. We'll be able to do that, so.
okay, so we're good?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
If you're good, we can go back to right now and find it, or we can go away and just bring it on the 12th.
Bless you. Councillor Bates?
Well, my suggestion would be to take the break now and look at it, because otherwise, if you come back to us,
And you don't like
then
it?
individually we're going to say, oh, no, we don't like that. And somebody else is going to say, yeah, I do, like, that's why we're here, so it'd be nice to let you guys.
Absolutely.
Is that
and-
okay with you?
And then we can
Absolutely.
agree that where we're headed.
Yeah, no, good idea. So,
Okay.
is that okay with everybody? Yep. Oh, Councillor Hystad.
Let's do the 0.5, then we got it. Then we're not going back and forth.
We're only looking for $15,000 right now, so
Yeah,
let's take a
well,
break.
That
and
could
I'll
be
you
it.
can
chill
come
out
back.
and then we'll come back, thanks.
Okay. Okay, so we'll take about a half-hour break. Okay,
Kara or Councillor Maceros and Hystad back because I can't see them. Yep, okay, perfect. Okay, so we'll let Director Vickers take it away.
Okay, Mayor Barkley and council, so we did go through the budget, and we have found enough to cut, and we are sitting at 0 right now. So the first item that that we cut was that $10,000 for the transfer to reserve for the Pace bus. We did update the facade, similar to the infill, so we increased that transfer to reserve from 60 to 70, so we increased the revenue to offset that. So it stayed in, but we brought in revenue to cover it.
And how much was that?
So that was $10,000, sorry. The events we lowered only down to 45,000, so we took out $10,000 for that. We did pull out DocuSign. We did discuss it and said that by the time we get it purchased and get it implemented, likely that wouldn't be till next year anyway, so we did do that. We did lower the assistant, the new position, the assistant fire chief, down by $10,000, just because we won't be hiring this person in January. Likely it won't be until sometime in the first quarter potentially. So we did lower that by $10,000 only this year. Next year it will be back up to the full rate. And we did take away a summer student. So Director Kennedy gave up one of his summer students. And then we did increase some revenue. It's approximately $15,000. And we did increase some arena advertising as well. So we looked at our actuals this year, and we bumped that up by about $38,000. That left us with $49 to find. Sorry, 3,800, not 30,000. No, I'm sorry. That left us with $49 to find, so we just increased revenue to balance that out to 0, so.
Well, good job. So are you okay with that, Director Kennedy?
He was.
It was my idea,
No?
Yeah, we strategized on manpower and try and shuffle things around as best we can. Obviously, the focus is beautification of the town, and we'll just continue to focus on that.
Just hope for no rain, I guess. Grass won't grow. Okay.
Okay, so is everyone comfortable with those changes that we did? However, this budget then means that there is no council surplus,
Yep.
right? So if there's unexpected things that come in, there is no surplus to pull from, that
Yep.
every time you would be pulling from reserve to offset those kind of one-off things that come in, so.
Okay, everybody good with that? Everybody nodding?
I'm nodding.
Thumbs up?
Cindy, thumbs up? Yep.
Okay, guess we're good. Don't
Okay.
hear anything otherwise.
Okay, perfect. So the next portion would be to go through the capital again. So what we can do is we went over it once on Friday. We had little discussion, so I'd like to go through maybe the PowerPoint again, just project by project, and see on each project if there's any questions that anyone has. So, okay, perfect. Okay. No, let's start on the fire system, town office fire alarm system slide, which should be slide 4, I think. Thank you. Okay, so the first item we have elected to put up was the town office fire system. So this would be an integrated fire system with the pull alarms and all that kind of stuff that would be across this entire building. We do have a tenant that is attached to this building that does not have. If there was a fire over there, it would be hard for us to know, and vice versa. This would make it so the whole building would be covered by a single fire alarm system. The cost is approximately $15,000 to be funded from the general cap reserve. Is there any questions or any? Okay, the next item is the town office entry. So out the front door, there is some paving stones that every year they do tend to fall down and become uneven and create tripping hazards. We do have them taped off with caution tape as kind of a warning, but we would like to pull those out, put some nice cement, put some nice stamping on it to make it look pretty, and that way it won't ever sag down again. What happens now is every year our staff have to pull those out, re-put some sand in, re-level it, put the paving stones back in, and every year it continues to sag. So this would be a permanent fix for that. The cost is $20,000 to be funded from the general cap reserve. Okay. Okay, so the next item that we talked about was the town office generator preparation. So this is just strictly the wiring and getting it ready to plug in a generator. And so the cost for that would be $15,000. That's primarily just the electrical connections. This is not anything to do with the purchase or the renting of a generator itself. And we would be funding that from the general cap reserve as well. Oh, and Director Kennedy did indicate to me last week that if we were to purchase a new generator, for the size that we would need, it would be about $65,000. So in the event of an emergency, we would likely look at just renting one if it was a localized emergency, right? We would have more issues if it was a across the province emergency, but. Okay. So the next item is roof replacement and repairs at the fire hall. So there's kind of two sections. So the built-up roof surface on the office portion of the fire hall has exceeded its expected useful life and has leakage issues as per the building condition assessment. In addition, the area over the bays requires a major repair to correct drainage slopes. So the replacement of the built-up roof area is $41,000. An evaluation of design and correction of the roof slopes on the bay areas is $25,000 for a total cost of $66,000 to be funded from the general cap reserve. Okay. Okay, the next item is a new vehicle for the assistant fire chief. They'd be looking at a half-ton, primarily a Ford F-150. It was indicated to me that Ford does do some better discounts for emergency vehicles, which is why it would likely be a Ford. So the cost of the pickup would be approximately $55,000, and then all the costs for the emergency light package and get it properly deckled with the emergency signage would be about $20,000. So for a total cost of $75,000 to be funded from the fire department reserve. Okay, so the next project we discussed was the 2023 surface improvements. So in this project, there is 5 different areas that will be fixed. So 40th Street from 51st Ave to 49th Ave requires surface replacements with some minor curb and sidewalk replacements. The roadway was identified as a high priority in the 2022 road assessment, and that portion of the project is $550,000. We're doing 42nd Street from Highway 54 to 60th Ave. This requires a new sidewalk and multi-use trail to connect the Bella Vista subdivision. So this is a requirement that we must do before we can do the crosswalk. That portion is $160,000. So the third section is a replacement of paved lanes in various areas throughout the town. Priorities will be based on the lane assessment that was completed in 2021. And that portion of the project is $266,000. There will be a trail replacement at the Napoleon Park Sports Field. There were some areas that were removed as part of the construction for Diamond 7 irrigation and the outdoor rink. That cost is $100,000. And the last project is 40th Street close from 40th Street to the end. It requires a new sanitary main as it has many sags and requires regular flushing. And the roadway was identified as a high priority in the 22 road assessment, and that cost is $230,000. So design and tender will be completed in the winter of 2022 with construction during the summer of 2023.
Okay, may I ask you a question, Director Vickers? And I'm curious with the trail or the sidewalk coming over from Bella Vista, was there at one time like a grant available for, I don't even know what they called it, like a safe community something at one point in time that, I don't know, there was an organization or can't remember if it was government funding, but I thought there was a program out there that maybe would have tied into something like that, you know, keeping kids safe and getting them where they need to be. But
I'm not sure.
don't, yeah, but I know it's kind of a question out of left field, but
I'm not sure about safe community one, but we have applied a couple times for active living and active
okay,
community
maybe that's what it was,
grants
Director
for
Kennedy.
it. So
Okay.
we've been trying to sit that one in there because we
Okay.
did do, some pre-design on it a couple years ago.
Okay.
So we've got it as kind of a shelf project.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
Okay, so the total for this project is $1,306,000, and it will be funded from our MSI grant funding in $847,000, and then the balance to be pulled from our wastewater reserve. Should be just under $459,000. And likely we would look at all option for grant funding even with this as well, right? Okay, so the next project we're looking at is the replacement of a backhoe. So we currently have a 2009 CAT 420E backhoe. It's a very highly used piece of equipment between all three departments. This unit has already been fully rebuilt once before and is starting to need parts redone again. So we are looking to replace this with a newer used unit still, with a cost of $210,000 coming from the Public Works Equipment Reserve. Okay, so the next item is a new box for the gravel or plow truck. So Unit 55 is a 2001 gravel plow truck that's used mostly in the wintertime. This unit is a frontline truck that completes the initial road opening after a snowfall. This truck has started to become a maintenance issue where the box is needing to be welded every year. We are proposing to only replace the box as the unit's mechanicals are still good. So that cost is $100,000 to be pulled from the snow reserve.
So I guess there's been a couple questions in regards to this unit. So we did inquire with the Public Works Foreman as to the need for doing this. So as we continue to use it during the winter, it's a highly used. We can continue to just patch, which is what we've been doing so far, is patch it. If it gets to a point of deterioration, well, then it does put us into a spot where we end up having to then rent a vehicle or find and rent a unit, which becomes very costly for us to try and find that unit and then rent it while we maintain and fix this unit. So that is why it's up there on the priority list, as well as putting it in the 5-year plan to look at a unit, probably a newer unit. And I know before we had budgeted $210,000, likely it's gonna have to be closer to that $300,000 for the newer units, because they are very hard to find and come across.
Okay, no other questions? Okay, we can move on to the next project. It's so we currently have a 2001 Ford F-150 service truck. It's a body truck, so it's used at dig sites as it holds all the tools for repair jobs. We're looking at replacing this unit with a newer used 1-ton flat deck picker unit. So this cost would be $120,000, funded from the Public Works Equipment Reserve. Okay, so the next project we'll be looking at replacing is our 2007 Ford Freestyle. So we currently have the green station wagon. That's kind of our staff vehicle that staff can use when they go away to conferences or meetings or anything when they're out of town. We are looking at so Unit 100 is a 2007 Ford Freestyle station wagon. It has approximately 150,000 kilometers on it. With low mileage, this vehicle should have a good trade-in sale value, and this vehicle will be replaced with a small SUV type, like an Escape or RAV4, and it will be the first hybrid vehicle in our fleet. So approximately $40,000, and we will be pulling it from the Public Works Equipment Reserve as well.
And Director Vickers, when we go to purchase something like that, it's kind of under that 75 threshold. So what's that process? Just more reaching out to see who has what available?
Yeah, we'll do an RFP or RFQ process, so we will likely go to the 3 dealerships in town here and have kind of a written down scope as what we would like, as well providing them an opportunity to provide any, advantages to using those dealerships, so.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, if there's no other questions, we'll move on to the next project. So this is the second phase of the 46th Avenue infrastructure replacement. So we did already do the first phase from 50th Street to 48th Street, that was completed in 2001. The second phase is from 48th Street to 46th Street. So the existing water main is ductile iron and sanitary main is clay tile and should be replaced when the road is dug up. The road surface has many cracks, failures, and repair sections. The design includes replacement of the water and sanitary mains and services to the property line. The roadway will remain the same width, but all curb and sidewalk will be replaced and will be paved in 2024. The project design was completed in 2022, so it's already ready for tender in early spring of 23 with construction during the summer of 24. Again, within the final paving to be completed in 24. The cost for this is $775,000, and we are going to be pulling it from the stabilization reserve.
Excuse me, can I just ask a question? On a project of this magnitude that's spread out over 3 years, what kind of communication do we have with the residents or the property owners along that street? Are they fully aware that it's a 3-year process and what the years look like, and from a convenience or an inconvenience perspective?
Yeah, typically we'll send out notices to everyone that's affected on the block in regards to what the project entails, and this is usually 6 months prior to, so that we can get good advance notice, as well as then identifying that it will be, like the road will be left in a milling state, what that means, and then as well, then the paving the following year. So typically it's like on a 2-block section, each phase would be a 2-year process. So yeah, we try and provide them ourselves as notice, and then once it's tendered and awarded, we'll provide another additional notice to them as well.
Okay, so we'll move on. So the next section is the 45th Street close at the 54th Avenue infrastructure replacements. So the existing water main is asbestos cement and its sanitary main is clay tile it requires flushing on a regular basis. The roadway was identified as a high priority in the 2022 road assessment. The design includes replacement of the water and sanitary mains and services to property lines. The roadway will remain the same width, but with all curb and sidewalk to be replaced, and this also will be paved in 2024 as well. The project design will be completed in 23 and ready for tender in early spring with construction during the summer of 23. So the cost for this is $418,000 to be pulled from the wastewater reserve. Okay, so the next item is the Cannon Park Playground replacement. So just due to aging structures and safety concerns in the Cannon Park Playground is proposed to be replaced in 2023. The project will be completed with collaboration with the Innisfell Kinsman Club, and the new playground will be considered an accessible playground. So the total cost for this project is $160,000, with $150,000 being the town's contribution and currently $10,000 from community grants and donations. And that will come from the playground reserve, our portion.
Councillor Hystad?
Yeah, and this is where I was getting at earlier, and I apologize for spitting out. I was like verbal diarrhea when I first started out this morning on a couple of those items. Do we need this park in this area? Seeing that, and this is where I'm getting at, the school may need some collaboration with us, or is this a must for us? And I'm just thinking of high traffic of use at the schools, as well as do we really need this park, this apparatus in this area of the community? Just thinking of the need of the schools, as well as being realistic with our dollars. So that's,
He muted himself.
did you hear that? Sorry.
Who wants to pick that one?
Yeah, we heard it.
We heard some of those.
Okay.
Director Kennedy?
I guess, we don't evaluate the need, I guess, or we haven't done a full, I guess that would be more of a community survey that would be needed to know if there's a need. We are looking at the structures themselves, and this is one of the older structures we have. We've actually had to remove one of the structures because we couldn't get parts for it anymore. So it is, and as well, we look at location. So, we've done a lot of work on the west side of town. This is on the east side of town, so, but yeah, unfortunately, I don't know. I couldn't answer the need question.
Well, and I, too, like, was it 4 years ago, we took the outdoor rink away from this area of town, and there was a little bit of controversy over that, because you're right, we don't have a lot of recreation or opportunities up in there, so providing a place for kids up in that area of town to play, I think is important, and to lose another structure and there's no playground left, I would like to see us keep this. Councillor Bates?
Yeah, as I evaluate it, it seems to me like the right thing to do. I mean, this is not the big playground with the big slides. This is for little kids that can get locally from a region, and every time we build a playground, or the service clubs do, that portion of the community becomes reliant that there be something there. And again, if this is representative of what we would do, you can see this is for very small kids mostly, and the bigger ones can get to the bigger playgrounds like the one we built. So to me, I think it's, unless you overtly go out there and get the citizens to tell you that you shouldn't, I think you should.
Sorry, Councillor Wing?
Thank you. Last year when we went through this process, there was a playground proposed by, we call it the Max Playground, but you know the one I'm talking about, straight west of the convenience store. And then I believe that we took that one off and we put in the new playground down by the arena. What is the status then of the Max Playground? And so that's just a question. I'd like to know about that. And then certainly in this year's budget in 2023, the schools won't be, I don't believe, in any position to actually start putting shovels in the ground or doing anything. But I would really like to be able to support them and to be able to leverage our tax dollars and the fundraising dollars that they're doing with their activities. If we come together, we can leverage that money with different levels of government, different levels of not-for-profits, other opportunities. There is no way that the schools are going to be able to raise enough money to build a playground through cookie sales at Tim Hortons. They're working their butts off, but it's huge. So I'm satisfied to say let's do something this year here, perhaps at Cannon Park, with an eye on what we're going to do next year relative to the schools. Every kid in town ends up in that playground at those schools. And you know, when I worked there, I'm not even going to say how many years ago, John Wilson at that time was the largest elementary school in the province. It had over 800 kids from grades 1 to 6. The schools have struggled mightily over the years through government cuts and through insurance decisions and all kinds of things that happen, decisions that happen at different levels than at the school level, that they're impacted by. So do something here this year, but tell me about Max first, because maybe Max needs to come first. But then let's put a marker on this and say, let's meet with the schools, let's figure out how we can work together and leverage each other's dollars to make a bigger impact.
Yeah, so in response to the max, so it is still on as a carryover project. So we have allocated $100,000 for the max playground. That's still in the budget as a carryover from last year, so we didn't take it out. We had to have focus on getting the arena done. So we are still looking at the max playground as a replacement this year, as well as the cannon.
Okay, and I'm, not to be argumentative, but last year max was a priority, so now
Yeah.
this is the priority, or
Yeah,
how do we
again,
decide which one you're gonna do first,
Yeah.
right?
The arena one came up, I think, as a opportunity, as an opportunity to do it. It also got removed as part of the ball diamond, and that's what brought its priority up above the max.
So what I'm hearing is we're gonna do both this year. As to whether the max gets done a month before this one, we're doing max because it got moved forward. And we're proposing doing this one as well. No, but I appreciate you asking, because I'd forgotten about max. But my understanding of the answer is we're doing both. Thank you.
Councillor Maceros?
Thank you, Mayor Barkley. Just because I'm not sure how these discussions usually happen. When a request comes in from the school like that to us, and we're looking at that amount of money, and we're bringing it into our budget discussions, how does it, like, what is the typical process when an organization comes in and asks us to contribute? And I mean, I was a little bit curious yesterday, thinking about the money that we've spent on our own playgrounds. And I don't know, this probably isn't even the right place for it. I think it's a big discussion. And I guess my question is this the place and time for us to discuss the school playground?
Yeah, I think Councillor Maceros, yesterday at council, we left it where we would give time for administration and the school people to have some discussion and see where things go. I would say it's, probably another example of downloading onto municipalities from maybe where other levels of government should be participating more. And so, we can't be we'll do what we can, I think, to collaborate and talk about it more, but that's kind of the process at this point in time. I think we'll always get requests from outside organizations coming in, but that was a big ask and obviously a very important one as well. But I think there's a lot of discussion to be had around that. Councillor Wing?
Just one, sorry, Cindy, are you done? Okay. We have facility usage agreements in place with Chinook's Edge, as well as working on one with Red Deer Catholic Schools. Does the playground equipment enter into what we consider to be shared usage? I mean, truly, those playgrounds are way more than just school assets, right? They're community assets. So I just wonder if we define those at all.
They aren't identified in the joint use agreements, as they aren't really bookable space. Those agreements are, the fields and the gymnasiums and those spaces are what are kind of captured in that joint use. Though within our joint use agreement, there's a clause, and as Director Vickers explained, with that reserve for the joint use, there's the ability to have capital expenditure. It's not big dollars, though. Typically, we're talking about score clocks and new climbing gear and things like that, in that sort of $10,000 to $20,000 per project type of, and that's basically any revenue we generate from the rentals of those spaces is what funds that. But yeah, playgrounds aren't directly addressed in the agreement.
CEO Becker?
Just on the delegation and Councillor Mazeros' question, this is the place. Council determines what is required or what's of interest for budget and capital. And I know the direction was to administration to connect with with a delegation, which we'll do. But certainly identify a shortfall of 320,000. So certainly we'll have a conversation, but to achieve a full detailed plan forward, it'll be, without that insurgence of government money or town money or county money or community money, it'll be a conversation, basically what I foresee.
Yeah, and I guess just researching grant opportunities, right? It's going to be a big portion of this and whatever, so hopefully in time, we'll see it come back and see where things land, so.
Okay, is there any more discussion on that, or can we move on?
I was just gonna say I appreciate the conversation on this, and I do see it as a opportunity to work with both schools, both divisions. But Cannon Park, I would agree that if there's a need there, let's continue on, especially Max as well. Thanks.
Okay, so the next project is air conditioning over at the senior center. They did request it last year to have it added to our facility, as it's hard to regulate the temperature of the space in the summertime. So that is $25,000 to be funded out of the general cap reserve. Okay. Okay, we'll move on. The next section is LLC roof repairs. So identified in the building condition assessment, the Bittman roof sloping results in ponding, and some leaks have now resulted. So we do want to get that fixed this year, or next year, sorry. So it's a cost of $12,000, and we'll be pulling it from the library reserve. Okay, so now we have a couple projects coming up in the arena. So the first one is arena dressing rooms. So this is to replace flooring and washroom partitions in the dressing room. So some of the partitions need to be replaced due to excessive damage if the project has ended up not being completed. So the flooring cost is $160,000, and the new partitions will be $20,000 for a total of $180,000 to be funded from the arena reserve. Okay, let me just find the next one here. Okay, was there any discussion on that, or? No? Okay, well, we can move on to the next one. So the next one is arena header trench fitting replacements. So this project is to replace existing header fittings to reduce leakage and repair costs. We did actually spend out $25,000 in 2022 due to leakage in these fittings due to poor design. So the cost is $100,000 to be funded from the arena reserve. So when the arena headers were newly installed a few years ago, they ended up being installed with I don't know how to, if you want to, I don't even know how to explain
They're awkward,
it.
oh, sorry.
Yeah.
They're very awkwardly designed, and they result in all these little bends in the fittings, and not ideal. So they've had numerous brine leaks over the last couple of years, and it just seems to be a continual repair issue.
Yeah, and in order to clean up those operating costs, overages that we don't want to see, we do need to get this project done next year.
Yeah, I'm not suggesting that we don't allocate that full 100, but I was just noticing that in the detailed, that it's 36,000 per header, and then it allows some other discretionary funding for other issues. Is that?
No, so I guess it's 36 for each, so we're, call it 80, and then there's, the quotes are a few months old, so we were just given a bit of contingency on that estimate.
Thank you.
Okay, the last project, at the arena is some new exterior cameras. So additional cameras on the exterior of the arena, north and west facing, to monitor activities in those areas. So all other areas of the facility are on the camera system. However, with the addition of the new outdoor rink and dehumidifiers at the rear of the arena, additional cameras are needed to cover those areas as traffic will increase. So this is the supply and installation of 5 additional cameras for a cost of $7,000 to be funded from the Arena Reserve. All right, so the last project we have today is some aquatic center maintenance repairs. So the aquatic center has been reviewed to identify minimum necessary maintenance and repair work to extend the life of the facility for approximately 5 years when the facility is intended to be replaced. The proposed repairs will extend the life of the building shell, allowing for alternate future uses. So a couple of these, so we are going to be replacing the roof. That is the biggest expense out of this, so that's $600,000. So new exhaust extension of $20,000, new entry doors for $100,000, and AC units for the lobby or party room for $10,000. So we have had party rentals in the past asking for fans in the party room, as the temperature has made it up into the mid to high 80 degrees in that room. So the total cost is $730,000 for this, for all this at the Aquatic Center, to be funded from the old federal gas tax grant, now known as CCBF, in the amount of $470,000, with the balance coming from the pool as well as the general cap reserve.
Okay, can you explain the entry door replacement?
Yeah, so we'd be looking for that exterior entry door in the vestibules. They're a bit of a challenge. They tend to blow open and get left open, and they stay open. They're not wide enough for proper wheelchair access, so we'd actually probably be looking at a like automated sliding doors for that exterior entry.
Okay, thanks, Director Jenkins.
Okay, was there any questions? Is there anything you want to go back and talk more about? Anything you'd like to remove?
No, I think that the other day, Councillor Wing had mentioned like some more, and I don't know whether it comes in here, whether it's significant, but some more benches or something down at the playground skating rink area, or, you know, I don't know if we can look at even a rental for a shack or something, if there is such a thing, where there's a place to change into skates and.
You're looking at me. Yeah, I think, Mayor Barkley, to that, I think just try to find those smaller pieces that would support with more public places for comfort and easy access and whatever in those areas. But I think we can identify those budgetary costs by when we come back to you with on the 12th, or if you want to talk about this on the A&P on Monday. But certainly we can pull some budgetary numbers. I think if we have a little bit of time just to identify some of those supporting amenity pieces, that'd be good.
Yeah, for sure, thanks.
So Mayor Barkley, would that just be benches and bleachers and seating? Or
Well,
would
I
you
don't think
also-
there's anything or much down there right now for, well, there's no ice yet, but there will be, you know, and where are we going to change, not we, but where are people going to change, well, maybe me, where are people going to change into their skates?
Yep, so typically we, so for this skate track area, we will bring bleachers out, same as we have last year. We have built benches currently getting built benches for the outdoor rink. So we did do a platform. The Parks Department built a platform for it. And actually we got a donation or sponsorship, I guess, from Behringer to actually build the benches. So they're working on manufacturing those benches right now. So we will have benches available for the outdoor rink specifically, and then the temporary bleachers for the opposite side. Same with over on Centennial, we'll bring bleachers out there for changing for the 2 outdoor rinks we provide up there as well.
Perfect, thank you.
So when I heard Councillor Wing on Zoom, it was also about picnic tables and that sort of thing around the playground. I do think we could reach the public and, you know, we're always looking for things, but I know I sponsored a bench behind my house and didn't know that it was even available to do that, and was only too happy to do it, so then somewhere that bench got moved. But I think if we made it known that, especially around the playground, there'd be somebody that would want to put in a little table and have their name on it, or in memory of somebody, or, so I think we could do the small pieces separate from our capital and get quite an uptake.
Further, Councillor Bates, I know that we'd also talked about trees in that area, and I mean, what's saying we can't reach out to the community? I know I'd sponsor a couple trees to be put in there, so if we came up with a master plan with some treeing and then reached out to the community, you know, we could have dedication to loved ones, memorial, that sort of thing, and just throwing it out there.
So after that initial conversation on Thursday, thanks to Director Kennedy, who did email me to remind me that there's a policy in place regarding donations for benches, that kind of thing, which is wonderful. So the infrastructure's in place. Now we need to let people know that it exists and what the opportunities look like. So because my family would be very interested in being involved in something like that as well. It's, you know, facility that we use and will be using for a long time. So so we can let people know that that exists. That would be great.
Okay,
Are we done? Is everybody okay with everything that they heard?
yeah.
We're good? Everybody's nodding? Oh, does he? Councillor Heistad, is your hand up?
Yeah, my only comment would be making sure that we know what our messaging is out to the community and finalizing. My understanding was finalizing this on the 12th. So is that our direction, Mayor Barkley, or am I not in line? So, because I think we've done a good job. Well, our administration has done a good job, and council's had a good deliberation overall. So that's my question. Do we wait?
So, I will defer, well, there's actually a story in the paper today about budget, so, but I will defer to CEO Becker, Director Vickers, about administration's process. I know you typically do a press release eventually, and with some of the highlights, and we'll probably do an interview with media.
Yeah, so Mayor Barkley, to Councillor Heistad and the rest of council, yeah, we typically draft a release with the messaging and what has generated the budget and why. Some of those key points that'll help you in your dialogue with the citizens. You can certainly ask for additional verbiage to help you with your conversation, but we'll draft that. As for Councillor Heistad's question, certainly the intent is to bring back an overview budget for the 12th. If you would like to see it on Monday, just let us know that at the AMP, but the plan would be to develop an RFD seeking your approval of the 2023 budgets. And
That's correct.
Director Vickers?
Yeah, so on the 12th, I'll do up another PowerPoint presentation, not as extensive as these ones were, but something as well, and have a full RFD. We are already starting to work on the press release, working with the communication department to kind of work on those numbers. It won't be released till like that night or the very next morning. I know our communications worker will likely be in contact with the press to make sure they get it in time. Yeah, so that's.
Is that all right, Councillor Heistad?
Yeah, no, I just want to make sure we're in sync with process. No, I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay.
Can I ask?
Councillor King.
I have a question, and I want to apologize, but I didn't go line by line through the entire binder. However, I did notice this one. We don't have anything in the playground reserves in this binder. So we talk about using playground reserves. Where is that money?
Yeah, so Mayor Barkley through to Councillor Wing. So that sheet already includes those projects being taken out. So now at the end of next year, we'll be sitting with a zero balance. in that
Okay.
reserve.
Okay, that's fine. Coming out of our conversations on Friday, or on Thursday, sorry, relative to the capital budget, I wonder about the freestyle, the replacement of the freestyle, not because I think we don't need to replace it, but I can't help but wonder if that's not an opportunity relative to our Energy Futures Lab as far as getting a hybrid or an EV donated to the, like, I just wonder if we're missing an opportunity there. And then just one last comment. I don't love the truck replacement project at all. I think $100,000 on a truck of that age is just too much, but that was just my one anecdotal complaint, I guess. Thanks.
So, Director Jenkins, I'm assuming you get MCCAC emails?
Yep.
Because they do have a grant program for hybrids, but I don't know if it's enough to bring it down far enough to match what a ICE vehicle would be. So I think
Yeah.
it's around 7,000 or something on a
Yeah, I think
on
it's a
hybrid.
small rebate
Yeah.
for the passenger
And
vehicles.
I don't
but-
know how much they are, but
And Mayor Barkley, we would look at maybe sponsorships. Maybe
Sure.
we could do it similar to the ice resurfacer.
Yeah.
See if someone would want to do a donation, and maybe even one of the dealerships. Who knows? We'll see.
No, I don't want to donate one, but I'll give you just a couple of thoughts. One is they're really hard to find if they got anything electric, whether they're a hybrid or otherwise. And you need to make sure that somebody that is a full-size adult can get in the back seat. Because some of the ones that I see here suggested, you might have difficulty, and that's pretty important for this, for a town car. So you need to take 4 people to sit in one. Thank you.
4 tall people.
all right, so I think we're good. All right, well, good job, everybody, and thanks again for all your efforts, everybody, council, administration, everybody. So we'll adjourn this budget for 2022.
Thank you, council. Appreciate your guidance, and again, any pressure points that are come up over the next couple of weeks, hopefully don't bring them up in the 12th. Just kidding. Certainly, the budget's open until you pass it.